Cold-blooded bikers corner a couple on the highway. The truth about them shocks everyone. The fading sunlight bathed the empty highway in a golden glow as Alex and Mia drove home after a relaxing weekend getaway. Their sedan hummed softly as it rolled over the smooth asphalt, surrounded by nothing but stretches of forest and the occasional sign pointing toward the next small town. Mia, in the passenger seat, scrolled absent-mindedly through her phone, while Alex kept his eyes on the road, his hands relaxed on the steering wheel. "It's so quiet out here," Mia said, breaking the silence. "Almost eerie," Alex chuckled, glancing at her briefly. "That's the whole point, isn't it? Peace and quiet. You said you wanted to get away from city noise?" Mia smiled but didn't respond, her gaze drifting out the window. The road stretched on endlessly, the trees casting long shadows as the sun dipped lower in the sky. She shifted in her seat, suddenly uneasy, though she couldn't pinpoint why. It wasn't long before the soft hum of their car was interrupted by a distant, low rumble. At first, it was faint, barely noticeable. But it grew louder with each passing moment, until it became a distinct, throaty roar. Mia turned in her seat, craning her neck to look out the rear window. "What's that?" Alex frowned, glancing in the rearview mirror. In the distance, he spotted a group of motorcycles, their headlights gleaming in the dusk. They were moving fast, their engines a thunderous chorus that sent a shiver down his spine. "Looks like bikers," Alex said, trying to keep his voice casual. But his grip on the steering wheel tightened, betraying his nerves. "Probably just passing through." Mia didn't reply, her eyes fixed on the growing silhouettes behind them. There were at least 5 of them, their dark leather jackets and helmets giving them an intimidating appearance. As they drew closer, the bikers began to fan out, their formation tightening around the car. "Alex," Mia said, her voice low and urgent. "They're getting too close." Alex glanced in the mirror again, his heart rate quickening. The bikers weren't just passing by, they were surrounding the car, their engines roaring like a pack of wolves closing in on prey. One of them pulled up alongside the driver's side, so close that Alex could see the chrome details on the bike glinting in the fading light. "Stay calm," Alex said, though his own voice was shaky. "They're probably just messing around." Mia's eyes widened. "Messing around?" "Alex, they're surrounding us." As if to confirm her fears, another biker pulled ahead of the car and slowed down, forcing Alex to ease off the accelerator. The others flanked the vehicle, boxing them in. Panic surged through Alex's chest as he realized he had no way to maneuver around them. "Okay, this isn't funny anymore," Alex muttered, his palms sweaty against the steering wheel. "Just drive," Mia said, her voice rising with fear. "I can't," Alex snapped. "They're blocking us." The biker in front of them slowed even further, his hand gesturing for Alex to pull over. Reluctantly, Alex complied, his heart pounding as he guided the car onto the shoulder of the highway. The bikers followed, their engines growling like predators ready to pounce. Alex and Mia exchanged a terrified glance as the bikers dismounted their motorcycles. They were all dressed in black leather, their helmets concealing their faces. One of them stepped forward, his movements slow and deliberate. He reached up and removed his helmet, revealing a stern but calm expression. His piercing blue eyes locked onto Alex through the windshield. "Stay in the car," Alex whispered to Mia, though his own voice wavered. The man approached the driver's side window and tapped on it with his knuckle. Alex hesitated for a moment before rolling it down just enough to speak. What do you want?" Alex stammered, his voice barely audible over the sound of the idling motorcycles. The man tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. "Your car's been swerving," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Thought we should check on you." Alex blinked, confused. "Swerving? No, I don't think so. We've been driving fine." The man glanced at the car, his eyes narrowing as he inspected it. "Mind if we take a closer look?" "What?" Alex said, his panic mounting. "Why?" "Because if something's wrong with your car, you'll want to know before it's too late," the man replied evenly. "Now pop the hood." Alex hesitated, his mind racing. Were they trying to trick him? Was this some kind of setup? But before he could respond, Mia placed a hand on his arm, her voice trembling. "Alex, maybe we should listen to them." What if something really is wrong? Reluctantly, Alex nodded and pulled the lever to release the hood. The man signaled to another biker, who stepped forward and lifted it, peering inside. The rest of the group stood nearby, their imposing figures adding to the tension. The man inspecting the engine frowned and called out, "Found the problem." "What is it?" Alex asked, his fear mingling with curiosity. "Brake fluids leaking," the man said, stepping back and wiping his hands on a rag. "You were a couple of hard stops away from losing your brakes entirely." Mia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Oh my God!" Alex's heart sank. He had felt the brakes acting a little strange earlier but had dismissed it as nothing serious. I didn't realize," he said, his voice shaky. The man who had spoken to them first nodded. "Thought so. We've seen it before. That's why we stopped you." Alex and Mia exchanged a stunned glance. "You stopped us to help?" Alex asked, disbelief evident in his tone. "Of course," the man said, as though it were the most obvious thing in the world. "We're part of a volunteer group. We patrol highways like this, looking for people who might need help." Alex was speechless. Everything about their appearance, their intimidating presence, had led him to assume the worst. And yet, these men, these supposed cold-blooded bikers, had just prevented what could have been a catastrophic accident. Another biker approached with a small toolkit. "We can patch it up enough to get you to a repair shop," he said. "But you'll need a proper fix soon." Alex and Mia watched in stunned silence as the bikers worked together, their movements efficient and practiced. Within minutes, they had addressed the issue, explaining what they had done and what Alex needed to do next. "Thank you," Mia said finally, her voice thick with emotion. "We don't even know how to thank you." "No need," the leader said, giving them a small smile. "Just be safe out there." The bikers returned to their motorcycles, their engines roaring back to life. As they rode off into the distance, Alex and Mia sat in the car, still processing what had just happened. "Did that really just happen?" Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. "Yeah, it did." As they merged back onto the highway, Alex glanced at Mia, his expression thoughtful. "We need to tell people about this. What they're doing, it's incredible. No one would believe it unless they heard it from someone who experienced it." Mia nodded, a small smile breaking through her shock. "Yeah, let's make sure everyone knows." The car rolled smoothly back onto the highway, but the atmosphere inside was far from calm. Alex's hands remained tightly wrapped around the steering wheel, while Mia sat with her arms crossed, staring out the window. The shock of what had just transpired hung between them, a mix of disbelief and lingering fear. They looked like, Mia hesitated, searching for the right word. Like troublemakers. "I mean, how were we supposed to know they were trying to help?" Alex nodded, glancing briefly at her. "I thought the same thing. Leather jackets, motorcycles, all those helmets. It's like something out of a bad movie. And yet," Mia added, her voice softening, "they saved us." Silence fell over the car, but it wasn't uncomfortable. They were both reflecting on the lesson they had just learned, how easily appearances could deceive and how quickly they had judged the bikers based on nothing but stereotypes. "I can't believe the brakes were that bad," Alex said, breaking the silence. "I felt something earlier, but I thought it was just the road." "They could have saved our lives," Mia replied. "If the brakes had gone out while we were going downhill or something." Alex didn't respond, but the weight of her words was evident in the way his knuckles whitened on the wheel. They drove in silence for several more miles until the dim glow of a gas station appeared on the horizon. Alex pulled into the lot, parking near the air pump, and exhaled deeply. "I think we should stop for a bit," he said. "Clear our heads." Mia nodded. "Yeah, I could use a drink." The convenience store was small but well lit, its shelves stocked with snacks, drinks, and the odd assortment of travel necessities. Alex grabbed 2 bottles of water and paid at the counter while Mia wandered through the aisles. Her mind was still racing, replaying the moment the bikers surrounded their car, the fear she had felt, and the overwhelming gratitude that followed. She paused by a rack of local newspapers and magazines. One headline caught her eye: "Highway Angels, the biker group saving lives on the road." The accompanying photo showed a group of bikers standing beside their motorcycles, their faces uncovered and their expressions serious but kind. "Mia?" Alex called from the counter. "You ready?" "Yeah, just a second," she said, grabbing the newspaper. She paid for it quickly and joined Alex outside, holding it up for him to see. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the headline. "It's them. It has to be." Alex took the paper and scanned the article as they leaned against their car. The story detailed the efforts of a volunteer group called the Highway Angels, a collective of bikers who patrolled remote stretches of road, offering assistance to stranded or distressed motorists. The group had started small but had gained a reputation for their selfless work, often preventing accidents or helping travelers in need. "This is unbelievable," Alex said, shaking his head. "I never would have guessed. I mean, look at them. They're doing something amazing," Mia said. "And we almost treated them like criminals." Alex nodded, a flicker of shame crossing his face. "We need to share what happened. People should know what they're doing." That night, after they arrived home, Alex and Mia sat together on the couch, the newspaper spread out on the coffee table in front of them. Mia had opened her laptop and was typing furiously, her thoughts pouring out onto the screen. "What are you writing?" Alex asked, leaning over to look. "Our story," Mia replied without pausing. "What happened to us tonight, how they helped us. It needs to be out there. I'm going to post it online." Alex hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Yeah. People need to hear it." Mia finished the post and added a photo of the newspaper article, along with a brief caption. "Tonight, we learned not to judge a book by its cover. These cold-blooded bikers saved our lives. Thank you to the Highway Angels for all that you do." She hit post and leaned back with a satisfied sigh. Let's see if it gets any attention. By the next morning, the post had gone viral. Thousands of people had shared it, commenting on the unexpected kindness of the bikers and the lesson Alex and Mia had learned. Stories began pouring in from others who had encountered the Highway Angels, each one echoing the same sentiment. Appearances could be deceiving. The attention caught the eye of local news stations, and within days, reporters were reaching out to Mia and Alex for interviews. Reluctant at first, they eventually agreed, wanting to use their experience to highlight the good work being done by the biker group. On a sunny afternoon, they found themselves sitting in a small studio, cameras trained on them as a reporter asked questions. Mia recounted the events of that night with emotion, her voice breaking slightly as she described the moment they realized the bikers were there to help, not harm. "It was a wake-up call," she said. "We judged them unfairly because of how they looked, but they were the ones who stopped us from driving a car that could have gotten us killed." Alex nodded in agreement. "We owe them everything. And it's not just us. They're out there every day helping people. They deserve to be recognized for what they're doing." The interviews only added to the growing momentum. The Highway Angels quickly became a national sensation, their story inspiring countless others. Donations poured in to support their efforts, allowing them to expand their reach and improve their equipment. The bikers, who had always worked quietly and without expectation of reward, were both humbled and overwhelmed by the attention. One evening, as Alex and Mia sat on their porch, watching the sun set, Alex's phone buzzed with a message. He opened it and stared at the screen for a moment before handing it to Mia. "It's from them," he said. The message was brief but heartfelt. "Thank you for sharing our story. We're just doing our part. Stay safe out there." Mia smiled, her eyes misty. "I can't believe this all started with a flat tire." "Brake fluid," Alex corrected with a grin. "But yeah, it's crazy." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the weight of the experience settling into something lighter, something hopeful. Their encounter with the bikers had changed them, not just in how they viewed others, but in how they viewed themselves. They had been given a second chance, and they were determined to make the most of it. The story didn't end there. Over the months that followed, Alex and Mia stayed in touch with the Highway Angels, occasionally joining them for community events and fundraisers. They learned more about the individuals behind the helmets, men and women from all walks of life who had come together with a shared purpose: to make the roads safer for everyone. At one such event, Mia approached the biker who had first spoken to them that night on the highway. His name was Jack, and his calm demeanor was as steady as ever. "Jack," Mia said, extending her hand, "I just wanted to thank you again. Not just for what you did for us, but for everything you and your group are doing. Jack shook her hand with a small smile. It's what we do. Glad we could help. You didn't just help, Mia said, her voice earnest. You changed how we see the world. Jack nodded, his gaze steady. That's what makes it worth it. In the months following their encounter with the Highway Angels, Alex and Mia's lives transformed in unexpected ways. The couple, once content to keep to themselves, now found themselves immersed in the stories and missions of those around them. Their online post had sparked widespread attention not just for the bikers but for the idea that kindness could exist in the most unexpected places. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Alex received a call from Jack, the leader of the Highway Angels. He was surprised, since that night, their communication had been limited to brief texts and messages. Alex, it's Jack, the voice on the other end said, calm but direct as always. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. Not at all, Alex replied, glancing at Mia, who was sitting across the table with her morning coffee. What's up? We've got a fundraiser coming up next weekend, Jack said. It's a big one, trying to raise money for better roadside assistance equipment. We could use your help. You and Mia made quite an impression with your story. People trust you. Alex hesitated, the weight of the request sinking in. Public speaking and fundraising weren't exactly his strengths, but he knew how much the Highway Angels had done for them and countless others. How could he say no? Of course, Alex said, his voice steady. We'd be happy to help. Just let us know what you need. Jack's gratitude was evident in his tone. Thanks, Alex. It means a lot. I'll send you the details. When Alex hung up, Mia raised an eyebrow. What was that about? We're going to a fundraiser, Alex said with a small smile. Jack wants us to help spread the word. Mia set her coffee down, a thoughtful look crossing her face. You know, it's funny. Before all this, I never would have pictured us doing something like this. Me neither, Alex admitted. But after everything they've done, it feels right. The fundraiser was held at a community center on the outskirts of town. The parking lot was packed with motorcycles of every make and model, their chrome glinting in the sunlight. A few cars were scattered among them, but it was clear this was a biker-centric event. Alex and Mia felt a mix of excitement and nerves as they stepped inside. The atmosphere was lively, with booths set up along the walls showcasing everything from biker gear to photos of past Highway Angels rescues. A stage at the front of the room was equipped with a microphone, where a local band played upbeat music. Jack greeted them near the entrance, his usual stoic demeanor softened by a warm smile. Glad you could make it, he said, shaking Alex's hand firmly and giving Mia a polite nod. The crowd's already buzzing about you too. Psst, Mia said, her eyebrows shooting up. Jack nodded. Your story resonated with people. You showed them a side of us they didn't know existed. Mia and Alex exchanged a glance, both feeling the weight of those words. They had come to the event thinking they were just participants, but it was clear they were part of something bigger now. As the event progressed, Alex and Mia mingled with the crowd, answering questions and sharing their experience. They met bikers from all over the region, each with their own stories of rescues, repairs, and small acts of kindness that had made a big difference in people's lives. One biker, an older man named Greg, shared how he had joined the Highway Angels after losing his son in a car accident. I couldn't save him, Greg said, his voice thick with emotion. But I can help save others. That's what keeps me going. Mia reached out and squeezed his hand, her eyes glistening. You're making a difference, Greg. Don't ever forget that. When it was time for the main event, Jack took the stage and introduced Alex and Mia to the crowd. The room erupted in applause as they stepped up to the microphone, their nerves melting away in the warmth of the reception. Alex spoke first, his voice steady despite the hundreds of eyes watching him. A few months ago, Mia and I were driving home on a quiet highway when we were surrounded by bikers. At the time, we thought we were in danger. But we were wrong. He paused, glancing at Mia, who nodded encouragingly. They didn't stop us to harm us, Alex continued. They stopped us to save us. Our brakes were failing, and we didn't even realize it. If it weren't for the Highway Angels, I don't know what would have happened. The crowd listened intently, their expressions a mix of pride and emotion. Alex handed the microphone to Mia, who smiled at the sea of faces before her. "That night taught us a lesson we'll never forget," she said. "We judged these men and women based on their appearance, but they proved us wrong in the best way possible. The Highway Angels aren't just bikers, they're heroes." The applause that followed was deafening. As Alex and Mia stepped off the stage, they were met with handshakes, hugs, and words of thanks from bikers and attendees alike. The event raised more money than anyone had expected, ensuring the Highway Angels would be able to continue their work for years to come. In the days after the fundraiser, Alex and Mia found themselves reflecting on how much their perspective had changed. They had gone from seeing the bikers as a threat to seeing them as friends, even family. The experience had also inspired them to look for more ways to give back. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Mia turned to Alex with a thoughtful expression. "What if we started something of our own?" Alex frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we created something to help others?" Mia said. "The Highway Angels have their patrols, but there's so much more we could do. Maybe it's organizing community drives or setting up roadside assistance funds. I don't know yet, but I feel like we're meant to do more." Alex considered her words, a smile slowly spreading across his face. "You're right. We've already seen how much of a difference small actions can make. Let's do it." And so, with the encouragement of the Highway Angels, Alex and Mia began laying the groundwork for a new initiative. They called it the Open Road Project, a program dedicated to supporting travelers, promoting kindness, and building bridges between communities. Months later, the Open Road Project held its first event, a collaborative effort with the Highway Angels to provide free car maintenance checks and safety workshops at a local park. The turnout was overwhelming, with families, bikers, and motorists coming together to learn, share, and connect. As Alex and Mia stood side by side, watching the event unfold, Jack approached them with a rare smile. "You've done something special here," he said. "Something that'll last?" Mia beamed, her heart swelling with pride. "We couldn't have done it without you." Jack shook his head. "You had it in you all along. You just needed a nudge." The story of Alex, Mia, and the Highway Angels became a symbol of hope and transformation. It reminded people that kindness could come from unexpected places and that it was never too late to change how you see the world or how you see yourself. For Alex and Mia, their encounter on that quiet highway had been more than just a rescue. It had been the start of a new journey, one that proved the road ahead was always full of possibilities. The success of the first event for the Open Road Project sparked a ripple effect that neither Alex nor Mia had anticipated. Word spread quickly through local media and social networks, and soon other communities began reaching out. Families, community leaders, and even car repair businesses wanted to get involved, offering their skills and resources to help the project grow. The Highway Angels, ever the humble backbone of the movement, stood by Alex and Mia every step of the way. Jack, Greg, and several others from the group became regular collaborators, offering advice and bringing their network of bikers into the fold. Together, they began organizing roadside safety workshops, donation drives for car parts, and even creating emergency roadside kits that could be distributed to those in need. One brisk Saturday morning, Alex and Mia stood outside a large community center, preparing for their second major event. This time, the focus was on teaching families how to handle common roadside emergencies. Dozens of volunteers had shown up to help, and the parking lot was buzzing with activity. Mia adjusted the sign-in table while Alex checked the schedule. A row of demonstration booths lined one side of the lot, each staffed by a volunteer or a highway angel. Greg was busy showing a group of teenagers how to change a tire, his gruff but kind voice carrying over the crowd. "You think we'll ever get used to this?" Alex asked Mia, gesturing at the bustling scene around them. Mia smiled, her eyes sparkling with pride. "Probably not. But that's a good thing, right?" Before Alex could respond, Jack walked up, his leather jacket unmistakable even in the crowd. "Everything looks great," he said, his tone approving. "You two have a knack for this." "We've had good teachers," Mia replied, glancing at him with a grin. Jack chuckled, though his expression grew serious. "You know, I've been thinking. This project of yours, it's bigger than just roadside help. You're building something that brings people together. That's not easy to do these days. Alex nodded, a thoughtful look crossing his face. It does feel like we're tapping into something. People want to feel connected, like they're part of a community. Jack clapped him on the shoulder. Well, whatever it is, don't stop. The world needs more of it. As the event progressed, Mia found herself drawn to one of the booths where a young woman was demonstrating how to check for oil leaks. The woman, whose name tag read Elena, had an air of quiet confidence that reminded Mia of herself in the early days of their journey. "Hi, Elena," Mia said, approaching the booth. "You're doing an amazing job." Elena looked up, her face lighting up with a smile. "Thanks. This is my first time volunteering for something like this. I wasn't sure if I'd be any good." "You're more than good," Mia assured her. "You're helping people. That's what matters." Elena hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I actually heard about this through your post. The one about the highway angels. Really inspired me." Mia's heart swelled at the admission. "That means a lot to hear. The angels inspired us too. They showed us how much of a difference kindness can make." Elena nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I used to think stuff like this didn't matter, you know? That one person couldn't really change anything. But seeing all of this, it's different. It makes me want to try." "You are making a difference," Mia said firmly. "And you're not alone. That's what this is all about, doing it together." The day ended with a sense of accomplishment that was palpable among everyone involved. Volunteers and attendees lingered long after the official closing time, sharing stories and connecting in ways that felt genuine and meaningful. Alex and Mia watched from the sidelines, their hearts full as they saw their vision coming to life. As they began packing up, Greg approached them with a solemn expression. "You got a minute?" he asked. "Of course," Alex said, gesturing for him to join them at one of the tables. Greg sat down heavily, his usual jovial demeanor replaced by something more introspective. "I wanted to tell you both something," he began, his voice low. "That night on the highway, it wasn't just about helping you." Mia frowned slightly, leaning closer. "What do you mean?" Greg sighed, his gaze fixed on his hands. "I saw a lot of myself in you too. The fear, the uncertainty. I've been there. After my son's accident, I didn't know how to keep going. Helping people on the road, that's what saved me. It gave me a reason to get up in the morning." He looked up, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Seeing you two take that experience and turn it into something like this, it makes me think I did something right." Mia reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. "You've done more than something right, Greg. You've saved lives, ours included. And you've inspired us to keep going." Alex nodded, his voice steady. "We wouldn't be here without you and the angels. You showed us what's possible." Greg smiled faintly, his usual gruffness returning. "Well, don't let it go to your heads. There's still a lot of work to do." As the Open Road project grew, so did its impact. The movement began spreading to neighboring towns and eventually to other states, with more and more people joining the effort. What started as a single moment of roadside assistance had blossomed into a nationwide initiative, fueled by the simple idea that kindness and community could change lives. Alex and Mia became unlikely leaders in this new movement, their story resonating with people from all walks of life. They continued working closely with the Highway Angels, whose reputation had shifted from intimidating bikers to local heroes. Jack, Greg, and the rest of the group embraced the spotlight reluctantly, always quick to point out that they were just doing what needed to be done. One evening, after a long day of planning their next event, Alex and Mia sat together in their living room, reflecting on how much their lives had changed. The newspaper article that had started it all was framed on the wall, a constant reminder of the journey they had been on. "Do you ever think about that night?" Mia asked softly, her head resting on Alex's shoulder. "Every day," Alex admitted. "It's hard not to. It's like everything shifted after that." Mia nodded, her voice thoughtful. "I used to think the world was so disconnected that people didn't care about each other anymore. But now I see it differently. There's so much good out there, you just have to look for it." Alex smiled, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "And sometimes, it finds you when you least expect it." They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of their journey settling into something lighter, something hopeful. The road ahead was still long, but they knew they weren't traveling it alone. As the years passed, the Open Road Project and the Highway Angels became intertwined symbols of hope and resilience. Their story inspired countless others to take action, proving that even the smallest acts of kindness could have a ripple effect far beyond what anyone could imagine. And for Alex and Mia, their journey was just beginning. Together, they continued to build bridges, break down stereotypes, and remind the world that appearances could be deceiving, and that kindness always had the power to surprise. The Open Road Project's growth was nothing short of extraordinary. Within 2 years, it had expanded across state lines, inspiring similar initiatives in cities and towns that Alex and Mia had never even visited. Their inboxes were flooded daily with messages from strangers who shared how the project had touched their lives. Some wrote about the sense of security they felt knowing the Highway Angels were out there, while others described their own experiences with the group, stories of flat tires, dead batteries, and near accidents that had been averted by the bikers' timely interventions. Despite the rapid expansion, Alex and Mia stayed deeply involved. They were no longer just the face of the movement, they were its heart. Every week, they held meetings with volunteers, planned events, and connected with community leaders who wanted to bring the Open Road Project to their towns. The work was exhausting, but it was also deeply fulfilling. One crisp autumn morning, as Alex and Mia sat in their home office preparing for an upcoming conference, Alex received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello," he answered, his tone cautious but polite. "Mr. Kingston?" a warm voice replied. "This is Mayor Bradley from Carson City. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time." Alex sat up straighter, exchanging a surprised glance with Mia. "Not at all, Mayor. What can I do for you?" "I wanted to personally invite you and your wife to our town's annual Unity Festival," the mayor said. "We've been following your work with the Open Road Project, and we'd be honored if you join us as keynote speakers. The Highway Angels have done incredible work in our area, and your story would mean a lot to our community." Alex hesitated, taken aback by the invitation. Public speaking still wasn't his favorite thing, but he knew how much the project meant to people. "Thank you, Mayor. That's an incredible honor. Let me discuss it with my wife, but I think we'd love to be part of it." After hanging up, Alex relayed the invitation to Mia, who immediately nodded her approval. "Of course we should go," she said, her excitement infectious. "This is exactly what the Open Road Project is about, bringing people together." The Unity Festival was held in the heart of Carson City, a picturesque town nestled in a valley surrounded by rolling hills. The streets were lined with vendors selling everything from homemade crafts to locally grown produce, and a stage had been set up in the town square, draped with banners celebrating community and kindness. Alex and Mia arrived early, greeted warmly by Mayor Bradley and several town officials. Jack and a handful of other Highway Angels were already there, their motorcycles parked in a neat row near the stage. The sight of the bikers drew curious stares and excited whispers from festival goers, many of whom recognized them from the stories that had circulated online. As the time for their speech approached, Alex felt a familiar knot of nerves in his stomach. He glanced at Mia, who gave him an encouraging smile. "We've got this," she said, taking his hand. "Just speak from the heart." When they stepped onto the stage, the crowd erupted into applause. Alex took a deep breath, letting the energy of the moment steady him. He began by recounting the night on the highway that had changed their lives, describing the fear they had felt and the assumptions they had made. "We were scared," Alex admitted, his voice clear and steady. "We saw a group of bikers and thought the worst. But instead of threatening us, they saved us. They showed us what true kindness looks like." Mia took the microphone next, her tone warm and heartfelt. "That night taught us that appearances can be deceiving. It also taught us that small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect far beyond what we imagine. The Highway Angels didn't just help us, they inspired us to pay it forward." The crowd listened intently, their expressions a mix of admiration and emotion. When Alex and Mia finished, the applause was thunderous. As they stepped off the stage, they were met with handshakes, hugs, and words of gratitude from people of all ages. After the festival, Alex and Mia joined the Highway Angels for a quiet dinner at a local diner. The group's camaraderie was as strong as ever, their laughter and banter filling the small space. Jack, usually reserved, leaned back in his chair and looked at Alex and Mia with a rare smile. "You two have done something incredible," he said. "This project, it's bigger than any of us imagined." "It wouldn't exist without you," Mia replied. "You showed us the way." Jack shook his head. "Maybe, but it was you who took it further. You believed in something bigger." As the conversation continued, Greg shared a story about a recent rescue. A young couple stranded on a snowy mountain road, their car stuck in a ditch. "They thought we were there to rob them," Greg said with a chuckle. "But by the end of it, they were hugging us like long-lost family." Alex smiled, the story reminding him of their own experience. It's amazing how quickly perceptions can change when people see the truth. In the months that followed, the Open Road project expanded even further, with chapters springing up in major cities and rural areas alike. Alex and Mia continued to travel, sharing their story and building connections with communities across the country. They also worked closely with the Highway Angels to create a national training program for volunteers, ensuring that every chapter upheld the same standards of safety and compassion. One evening, as they sat together in their home office, Mia turned to Alex with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if that night on the highway had gone differently?" Alex paused, considering her question. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But then I think about everything that's come from it, all the lives that have been touched, and I realize it had to happen that way. It was meant to." Mia nodded, a soft smile on her lips. "I feel the same way. It's like fate put us on that road for a reason." Alex reached for her hand, his gaze steady. "And we're still on the road. Together." Years later, the Open Road Project and the Highway Angels had become household names, symbols of hope and resilience in a world that often felt divided. Alex and Mia's story continued to inspire people, reminding them that kindness could come from the most unexpected places, and that it only took one moment, one decision, to change everything. And though the road ahead was always uncertain, Alex and Mia knew one thing for sure: they would keep moving forward, driven by the belief that every journey had the power to bring people closer together. As the years unfolded, the reach of the Open Road project surpassed even Alex and Mia's most ambitious dreams. What had begun as a simple act of gratitude for the Highway Angels' selflessness evolved into a network of interconnected communities, all united by the desire to make the roads and the world a kinder, safer place. News outlets from across the globe covered the initiative, with headlines like "The Highway Heroes Changing Lives" and "How a Simple Act of Kindness Sparked a Movement." For Alex and Mia, life had become a whirlwind of travel, speaking engagements, and community building. But despite the demands on their time, they never lost sight of the project's core mission: to bring people together through small acts of compassion. One day, while sitting in their home office, Alex opened an email that caught his attention. The subject line read, "Highway Angels, recognition from the President." "Mia, you need to see this," Alex said, his voice tinged with excitement. Mia set her coffee mug down and leaned over his shoulder, her eyes scanning the email. It was an invitation to a special ceremony in Washington, D.C., where the Highway Angels and the Open Road Project would be honored for their contributions to public safety and community outreach. "They're giving us the National Humanitarian Service Award," Alex said, his voice filled with awe. "This is unbelievable." Mia grinned, her excitement matching his. "It's not just for us, Alex. It's for everyone who's been part of this journey. The angels, the volunteers, the communities. This is their recognition, too." The ceremony, held in the East Room of the White House, was a grand affair. Representatives from the Highway Angels, including Jack and Greg, stood alongside Alex and Mia as they accepted the award. The president delivered a heartfelt speech, commending the group's dedication to saving lives and fostering unity in an increasingly divided world. "As we honor the Highway Angels and the Open Road Project today," the president said, "we are reminded that true strength lies in compassion. These individuals have shown us that no act of kindness is too small to make a difference." The applause that followed was deafening, and Alex and Mia found themselves overwhelmed with gratitude. After the ceremony, They mingled with other attendees, sharing stories and reflecting on how far they had come. "I never imagined we'd be here," Alex admitted to Jack, who stood beside him with his usual stoic demeanor. Jack smirked, a hint of pride in his eyes. "Neither did I. But you earned it. All of you." Following the ceremony, the momentum of the project grew even stronger. Alex and Mia returned home to find their inbox flooded with messages from people inspired by their story. One email in particular stood out. It was from a woman named Clara, who shared how the project had saved her family during a cross-country road trip. "We were stranded in the middle of nowhere," Clara wrote. "Our car broke down, and we had no cell service. My husband and I were terrified, especially with our 2 young kids in the backseat. Just when we thought all hope was lost, a group of bikers pulled up. They were part of the Highway Angels. They not only fixed our car but stayed with us until we reached a safe area. I'll never forget their kindness." Mia wiped away a tear as she read the email aloud. "This is why we do this," she said softly. "It's not about awards or recognition. It's about people like Clara." Alex nodded, his resolve deepening. "We need to keep going. There's still so much to do." Their determination led to the creation of the Open Road Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to funding roadside safety programs, supporting families affected by accidents, and training volunteers to become part of the Highway Angels network. The foundation's launch event drew thousands of supporters, including bikers, motorists, and families whose lives had been touched by the project. Greg, who had become one of the foundation's most vocal advocates, shared his story during the event. "After losing my son, I didn't think I'd ever find purpose again," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "But the Highway Angels gave me a reason to keep going. And now, through this foundation, we can give that same hope to others." The crowd erupted into applause, their collective energy a testament to the power of community. As the years passed, Alex and Mia balanced the demands of their growing foundation with their personal lives. They often returned to the quiet highways where their journey had begun, finding solace in the open road and the memories it held. During one such trip, they stopped at a diner they had passed countless times but never visited. Sitting at a booth near the window, Alex and Mia watched as a group of bikers pulled into the parking lot. Their leather jackets and helmets were unmistakable, and Alex couldn't help but smile. "Think they're angels?" Mia asked, her eyes twinkling. "Only one way to find out," Alex replied. When the bikers entered the diner, Alex and Mia approached them, introducing themselves and sharing their connection to the Highway Angels. To their delight, the bikers were indeed part of the group, and the conversation that followed was filled with laughter and camaraderie. "You two are legends," one of the bikers said, his admiration clear. "We've heard your story 100 times, but meeting you in person, it's an honor." "The honor's ours," Mia replied warmly. "You're the ones out there every day, making a difference." As they parted ways, Alex and Mia felt a renewed sense of purpose. The encounter reminded them that the work they had started was bigger than themselves. It was a movement fueled by countless individuals who believed in the power of kindness. Back home, Alex and Mia began working on a book that chronicled their journey and the stories of the people they had met along the way. Titled The Open Road: How Kindness Changed Everything, the book became a bestseller, inspiring readers worldwide to look beyond appearances and embrace the potential for good in everyone. Through the book, Alex and Mia shared not only their personal experiences but also the lessons they had learned. They wrote about the importance of empathy, the strength found in vulnerability, and the transformative power of community. The book's success brought even more attention to the foundation, enabling them to expand their programs and reach more people than ever before. One evening, as Alex and Mia sat on their porch watching the sunset, they reflected on how far they had come. The framed newspaper article that had started it all still hung in their home, a constant reminder of the night that changed their lives. "Do you think we've done enough?" Alex asked, his voice quiet. Mia smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "We've done more than we ever thought possible. But there's always more to do. That's the beauty of it. It never really ends." Alex nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "The road ahead is long. And that's a good thing," Mia said. "It means we still have time to make a difference." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Casting the world in a warm golden glow, Alex and Mia sat together in peaceful silence. The open road stretched out before them, filled with endless possibilities. And they were ready for whatever came next.